Welcome to my presentation. My name is Petra Storjohann. I'm from the Leibniz Institute für Deutsche Sprache in Mannheim. For the past couple of years, I've been working on the linguistic and lexicographic treatment of confusables. And today I want to share an idea with you, an idea for a pan-European platform of commonly confused words. So let's give it a start. In every language, there are terms that are easily mistaken, confused, or misused. As Adrian Room said a long time ago, we say one word when we mean another, half comprehend or misunderstand words, and encounter unfamiliar and hard words daily. In short, we confuse words. Among all the different kinds of confusables that there are in European languages, I want to focus on one specific phenomenon called paronymy. Have a look at this table with English terms. These can cause uncertainty because they are so similar in form and sound and sometimes also in meaning. And ask yourself the following question. Do I know the precise difference between authoritarian and authoritative, fictional and fictitious, or innovative and innovatory? Often these words are only separated by one or two letters or by different prefixes and suffixes. But who has troubles with those terms? Well, it's both native speakers and language learners. Numerous discussions on internet forums testify to this. So here you have an example where a native speaker of English asks about the precise difference of innovative and innovatory. Such pairs can be found in most European languages. I provided you here with the list of German formal equivalents. And as you see, here too, in situations of language doubt, people search for help in forum for German as a foreign language, for example, and they are interested in this case in the difference between fictive and fictional, fictitious and fictional. Let me turn to German paronyms in particular now. The spectrum of German paronyms is large, much larger than we originally anticipated. Through the corpus-driven retrieval and the manual editing process, we extracted around 2,000 pairs following specific morphological patterns. Each pattern illustrated here differs with respect to the suffixes. Together with identical adjectival roots, they form prototypical paronym pairs. And these pairs only serve as examples for very productive morphological patterns. A few years ago, we started collecting, analyzing, and documenting such pairs in a dictionary. But why? Why did we engage in such a project? There are two German dictionaries dealing with that. We have two print dictionaries, one by Duden from 1971, so rather outdated, and one by Pons from 2001. Although they contain a lot of confusables, there are hardly any genuine paronyms in there. So a dictionary solely dedicated to genuine paronyms in German and accounting for them from a contemporary perspective and from a corpus-based perspective had not been compiled until 2018. Today, the dictionary Paronyme dynamisch im Kontrast fills this gap. It's a free monolingual online dictionary. It comprises 360 entries, contrastive and dynamic entries. I'm going to show you in a minute. So for the first time, we have a rigorously corpus-based reference work of paronymy, which will provide help on multiple descriptive levels. Let's have a closer look. This is the dictionary Paronyme dynamisch im Kontrast. I picked the entry innovative and innovatorisch. Need to make that a bit smaller here. Okay, as you can see, everything is arranged in a contrastive structure. We have the more frequent term listed on top and the less frequent underneath. Each tile represents a specific contextual usage here. So it's 3 for innovative and there's only 1 for innovatorisch. The individual contextual uses are listed horizontally for each headword, and then they're connected to one another vertically in cases of semantic overlaps with the partner term. We also use a color marking system. Blue is used for meaning identity, which we don't have here. Green is used for similar uses with slight nuances, which we have here. And these are positioned directly beneath one another. And then we have gray marking It's for those tiles that occur only for one term or that is divergent in meaning with the other term. So we don't have those here for innovatorisch. They're usually positioned offset then. This form of presentation is a compact overview, comparative overview. At one glance, you see the number of senses for each term. You also see where there are semantic overlaps, and you see where the differences are between the relevant terms. There are flexible modes of presentation. So for example, if you're interested in the frequency of the individual senses, you can arrange them by using the top left menu, and then all the contextual uses are arranged by falling frequency, for example. Let's have a closer look at one tile. In each tile, you find a short definition in form of a synonym. You find a reference or a domain, and you find up to 5 collocates illustrating the domain and the reference. So we have one relationship of similarity between the two adjectives, and you can see they're only similar and not identical because we have a difference in the reference. Here you have only one term, subject matter, and here you have subject matter and actions or processes. That's because only innovative can co-occur with verbs, as you will see in a minute. We also have 2 more uses for innovative on the right-hand side, which characterizes products, technology, and areas as being original, or people as being creative and inventive, and we don't have those for the other term. On an additional level, you can find more detailed information. You can either click directly onto more, or as I will do, I use this menu in the middle here, which says that you can pick up to 3 contextual uses as you like to have a closer look at both at the same time. And I do this with this relationship of similarity here. As you can see, everything is arranged alongside. So we have innovative on the left, we have innovatorisch on the right-hand side, we have a much larger definition for both, we have more collocates, and we have the collocates arranged according to word classes. So we have the nouns on top and then the verbs. And again, you see there are no verbs for innovatorisch. Furthermore, we have typical construction patterns, and we have corpus citations, and underneath we list synonyms and antonyms with corpus examples as well. I want to point out how the corpus examples are edited because, as you can see, the collocates mentioned here and the ones that are identical for both to create a relationship of similarity are also used in the corpus citations that we pick and edit. So we have innovative Ansätze, innovative approach, innovatory approaches on the right-hand side, innovative ideas, innovatory ideas. And now it's the verbal context here to think innovatively, and we don't have such a corpus example on the right-hand side. So this is basically the main point of difference as well, the lack of verbs for innovatorisch. The aim to illustrate the corpus samples this way is basically to show the degree of contextual interchangeability. Now let's stick with the example of innovative and innovatorisch, and imagine German-speaking learners of English may wonder about the most appropriate translation for the German adjectives. In standard bilingual dictionaries, they'll come across translations such as innovative and innovatory, of course, in separate entries. But they will not learn anything about exactly in which context they're used in, or whether they behave identically, or whether the same referential differences apply to the description of products, fields, and people, as I mentioned before. And by the same token, English-speaking learners of German may be uncertain as to whether the German adjectives are in fact good translations for their English terms. 2 more examples. The English adjective muscular can be translated as both muskulär and muskulös in German. But how does an English-speaking learner of German learn about the differences? And German-speaking learners of English face 3 verbs, assure, ensure, and insure, for their German versichern, and they need to know in which context to use which verb. So despite the different perspectives of the users, very similar questions arise, in fact. And now imagine the German paronym dictionary were to be supplemented with an English component. We would require only an extension of the content of the existing monolingual dictionary following the same principles of lexical analysis and documentation. And if we were to synchronize a German and English entry and connect them to one another, then they can be looked up both as individual lemmas and as a pair, and both monolingually and bilingually. And as such, we can cater for all the groups of users mentioned. Now let's have a closer look again. This is a fake entry. I used a corpus and tools by Sketch Engine to analyze English data. The terms are arranged as pairs now in individual languages, one beneath the other. Undoubtedly, one should also be able to have an additional option to arrange them by lemma of choice. As with the German pair, you have a look at the English pair now, and similarities and differences can be discovered for this pair as well. However, they are slightly different for the two pairs now, and the English couple exhibits differences to the German adjectives. So it's innovatorisch, for example, that is not fully identical with its English counterpart. The uses marked in blue now are identical in meaning. The green ones are similar to each other with slight small semantic differences. The key difference between them is again whether they can modify any verbs. There are in fact similarities here between the pairs as such. Gray for divergent sense marking is not necessary now because there's always some similarities in uses somewhere. So this outline reveals the following. The uses exhibited by each adjective, the relationship between the individual headwords in each pair, and the relationship between the two pairs between two languages. The detailed views of multiple contexts and usages can also be compared now between the two languages. And let's take those three here, the front, to see where the adjectives refer to novel and groundbreaking products, technologies, and area. Again, I pick three contexts by choice, 1, 2, 3, and they open up next to each other. I open the corpus citations for you as well. So this form of parallel view preserves the direct comparison of paraphrases, domains, referential frames, collocations, and illustrative examples, which again shows, as far as possible, analogous partner terms being used. Here, for example, you see the German adjectives together with Produkte, products. The English one, there's product, the second term here, innovatory, product, the first. And so are the corpus citations. Product, Produkte in German here, innovative products, innovatory, product. The parallel placement of information highlights now the commonalities or differences. Now, a number of paronyms not only have equivalents in English or in German, there is a series of loanwords, cognates, and internationalisms across European languages. For example, cognates for the German effektiv, effizient here. Particularly tricky are words where differences cause well-known misunderstandings or mistranslations, as is the case with false friends, as this example shows. And there's not always an equivalent pair in each European language for each paronym pair with the Latin or French root. Take the example of innovativ and innovatorisch in German. They do not have formal equivalents in French, for example. But even this would be valuable information for learners. And if we were to consider such cases as well in a platform of commonly confused words, then this, of course, would be much more than a pure paronym dictionary. So the construction of a comprehensive multilingual resource requires language modules. And then the user chooses any two or more languages for comparison from a menu, as you can see here. Corresponding content is then overlaid dynamically. For instance, the choice of language-specific lists of headwords in each language in the search options, and just think of the number of potential uses of such a resource. But let me be clear. It is not enough to simply put individual dictionaries together in order to build a multilingual data platform in a consistent way, the exact lexicographic content to be shown, and the level of description at which it can be presented, and how the interfaces are best realized would all have to be considered with a freshly conceived common entry structure. And yes, naturally, there are limits as to what can be presented with the current form of the paronym dictionary. So for a number of issues, we need new creative solutions. With my presentation, I wanted to reflect on possibilities. My talk is a genuine plea for tools which extend across languages and which extend across existing resources. The design thinking approach that had been used for the German dictionary offers the potential as a platform. It does not have to remain limited to a single language. And I emphasize that the types of extension considered here are relatively easy to implement. Why is that? Well, underlying structures have been established and they are suitable in parts. We have a lot of experience in the technology and the data analysis, and extensive corpora are available for numerous other European languages. So what I outlined here is a vision of a digital network, but it is eminently realizable. And such a network would be of inestimable value. I thank you for your time and attention. That's the end of my talk. Thank you very much.